little spiritual thought to brighten our week and get us going to the weekend. So here we are, Pinch of Salt, and we have a special guest today. I don't know if you can see Fluff or not, but Fluff is our special guest sitting on Miranda, who has been very attention-seeking since we got back after being away for a month. Both our kitties are not very happy. So I think that's going to be something we have to deal with for a little bit. So I don't know. Can they see Fluff in the
Yeah,
screen?
Aspen said she moved the camera down.
Oh, well, there you go. Fluff, this is your moment.
She doesn't really seem to care.
Okay, thank you, Fluff. Anyway, moving right on. This is supposed to be very, very short, so here we go, and it's Miranda.
Oh, okay. Just a thought for today is there's more power in one drop of the blood of Jesus than there is in a whole ocean tsunami.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's more in the one drop of blood of Jesus than there is in a tsunami.
In a whole ocean tsunami.
In a whole ocean tsunami. Oh, okay.
Of course, such a thing doesn't exist,
Yeah.
but
Cool.
yeah.
Well, that would be true. All right, thanks for joining us.
And Brett has a story for us today.
Oh, what am I saying?
You're telling the story pretending to be deaf
Oh,
for the airlines.
Oh, that story.
Yes, that story.
I thought you were kidding. I didn't know you really wanted me to tell that story because it's very embarrassing to share with the millions of people that watch us.
Is it?
Okay, so quick story. I'll have to give you a very short version of it. So when I was taking American Sign Language for a degree, I was taking a 2-year degree in ASL. And ASL 1 is sort of a beginner class. Everybody, is like finger spelling and, cat and dog and see Jane run. I mean, it's very basic. And ASL 2 gets you into sentence structure and grammar. ASL 3 is really the clean house class. If you can't get past ASL 3, you can't go on to ASL 4, which is the last of the 4 sections. So if you can't pass ASL 3, you have to go back, take SAL 2, and then kind of work your way up again. So it's more involved, but one of the assignments was to be deaf for a day. And the idea in ASL 3, they really get into culture and the deaf experience that goes along with learning the language. And so our assignment was just to take a day and go out and try and do an activity as a deaf person, and, basically see how people react to you and see if you can get things done and, kind of get a feel of an idea of what it's like. So I chose one day. We did the day, and they were supposed to go back and report about it. And, and unfortunately, I chose a day that I was traveling. And I was in California, so I was traveling from California to North Carolina. And so I was flying, and I was flying from California to Dallas, actually, I think it was, and then from Dallas out to North Carolina. And so I said, I'll fly deaf and see how that is. That can't be all bad. And so when I got to the airport, I turned off my voice. That's what you do when deaf do that, turn off your voice. And started to try and, pretend I was deaf. And so when I got up to the counter, it was interesting because, like human nature, I guess, when they're so busy all the day, they start talking to you and they don't even look at you. At least the guy at the counter did, and he was just, when it was my turn, I stepped to the counter and he was being on the keyboard and he said, name, and of course, not that I could hear him, so I didn't say anything. And then he looked up at me a little agitated and said, "Name, please." And so I just looked at him and I tried to sign, and then I went like this, deaf. And when he caught on, like, oh, it's a deaf person, the panic in his eyes, like suddenly it was like a deer in the headlight. He didn't know what to do. And he was looking around, I assume, for help from I don't know where. But, like someone help me with a deaf person. And I just thought I'd get there and most people would just be like, oh, hang on. And they would get paper and pencil and then it would just solve itself. This did not occur to him for some reason. And so no one came to his aid. He motioned for me to come around behind the counter. And this was before a lot of the, security things we have in place now. It was before all that. So I went around the counter, and there on the screen was a layout of the plane and everybody's initials next to their seats, right? And so I had to point at my name and, oh, okay. So he sent me back around the counter and he made my ticket and he gave it to me. And at this point, I'm thinking, this guy I'm not letting off so easy because this has been an ordeal. And so I just stood there, and he was ready for me to move on. And so I signed, "Where's my gate?" And so it's, like, gate, where? And he was like, what? So then he remembered one of the workers back there knew sign language. So, "Oh, you know sign language?" Some girl came, "Oh, come over to sign this guy." And she didn't know sign language. She knew the manual alphabet. And so she had to finger spell every word. And when you finger spell, the idea is you're writing in the air. So like if you're doing cat, C-A-T, you're supposed to start in one place and kind of slide to the right as you spell. It's sort of like writing, C-A-T. But beginner sign, or people who really don't know what they're doing, the thing they do is they bounce. And they go C-A-T, and they just bounce their hand. And so she was bouncing all her letters, so I was going up and down with my hand. And she's like, "No, I'm not asking a question." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm just following your hand, Anyway, finally we got that. So instead of directing me or writing a map or just writing it out on paper, they have you ever been where they have the carts that carry around, usually really old people who either have walkers or canes or some sort of walking impediment, and they got one of those, and they called one of those over for me that already had 3 very old, wonderful people, I'm sure, but very old people on there. And so here I think I was 28 at the time or something like that. And so apparently, since I couldn't walk because I was deaf, I rode the geriatric cart all the way to the airport, to the gate, which was really weird. And then at the gate, of course, I'm deaf, so I can't hear the announcements. And so I have to sit there in the chair while they make the announcements, obviously hearing them, but I can't let them know I'm hearing them. And so they kept calling in, and finally they're calling my name. They're calling my name, and you can hear they're out like, "Last call for Richard Hadley, boarding now." And so eventually somebody, because they had told him when they dropped me off that I was deaf, and eventually one of them remembered, "Oh, I think it's that guy. I think he's deaf, and I'm sitting right there." They're pointing at me and talking about me, and I'm trying to pretend like I don't see this. And so she comes over, and because I'm deaf, she speaks loudly because that will break the deaf barrier, I assume. "Are you Brad?" Like, so they got me onto the plane, and I remember sitting there, and the plane was being delayed because I was late and everything, and these people behind me were irritated, and it was an older couple, and the guy was like, "Oh, we had to wait for this guy," and the wife was like, "Be patient, he's deaf." And he was like, "They should have planes for people like that." And she was like, "Be quiet, he's gonna hear you." And he's like, "He's deaf, he's not gonna hear me." And I'm like right in front of him, and it was just like that the whole time. And I could tell you more and more that happened, but basically they put me in the computer as deaf. So every gate I went to, somebody was waiting for me with a sign that said "Deaf Man," not my name, "Deaf Man," and they would escort me, hold my arm, and take me someplace, because apparently when you're deaf you need escorting. And so anyway, it took me all day. I had a big layover, and finally I got to Hendersonville, North Carolina, small little airport. It's close to midnight, and my brother came to meet me. And of course, when I got off the plane, there was the only people left was the security guard. It was close to midnight, so most everybody was gone. So the security guard was there with the sign, and he met me, takes my arm, and he's leading me off, and he's taking me out to the the front area. And so my brother came to meet me. Now you have to understand, Craig knows none of this. He's just come to meet his brother that he hasn't seen in I don't know how many years. And as I come over the rise of the walkway, he's sitting there waving, and he sees his brother being held by a security guard, escorted over the hallway. And he just slowly stops waving and starts looking around like, "I don't know who this, I'm not here for anybody." And so the security guard takes me up to him, and I don't know if he thought my brother was deaf or what, but again, speaking "Is this your brother?" And Craig's like, "Yeah, I think so." And "Oh, he was such a joy to have on the plane," and da da da. And I'm like, what am I, 5? And Craig just kind of goes with it, and we walk off, and he's like, "You want to explain this to me?" So I kind of told him what I was doing, what had happened, and I just want to get out of there. I want to get home. But the icing on the cake was that my luggage didn't show up. We were sitting there waiting for my bag, and it didn't show up. So now we had to go to luggage claim. And when I went to luggage claim, it was 2 of the stewardesses who had been on the plane. So they knew me, and now I had to be deaf again when I thought it was all done. And so I walk up, and we walked up the counter, and my brother was on the plane. Oh, yeah, hi, and waving at me. And he said his bag didn't show up. We wondered if it, was here. And they were like, oh, ask him if his suitcase is red. And so Craig's looking at him, and he thinks, I don't know sign language. Craig has no idea how to sign anything. He looks at them, and he's looking at me. And I'm like, oh, Lord, let this be over. And so he was like, okay, your suitcase, red. And I just like, yes. And they were clapping. Oh, it's so fun. I'm not making this up. This really happened to me. And sure enough, it was there. Praise Jesus. My suitcase made it. And I got it, and off we went. And that would have been fine if it had been the end of the story. What I found out almost a year later when I flew again on United, because it was United, that I was in the system as deaf. And when I showed up to the airport the next time I flew, I was still deaf because they had already prepared. Thankfully, that time they were way more prepared. They had things written out. But I was still deaf, and I had to stop flying United for I don't know how long until I was no longer in their system. But yeah, anyway, I don't know why I had to tell you that humiliating story, but I'm sure Miranda has a wonderful spiritual point she's going to make from it.
Yes. Okay, so basically, there's more power in truth than there is in a lie.
Ah.
Yes.
Yes.
When Brett went back to living the truth that he could hear, yes, he was set free from the lie.
Yeah.
Basically, unless you went back to the airlines.
Yeah.
But, you were set free from the lie. You didn't have to lie anymore. You walked away from that in your life.
I wasn't being controlled by it anymore. Yeah.
From basically having to do what the lie told you
made me
to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So basically, all he had to do was tell the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But a few simple words, to explain the situation, and yet he just kept playing along with it. Well, partly because it was for his class.
Yeah.
But in real life, we do, like, once we tell one lie like that, and we keep living it out, we just keep carrying it around with us, because while it would take a few simple words to just fix the situation, a lot of people don't take those few simple words to do it and just keep carrying around and telling a lie, and then having to live it out and all the burdens that come with it.
Yep.
So the thing about a lie basically has no power to stand on its own. It's much like pride. It doesn't have power to stand on its own. Yeah. We keep it going places with us because we carry it around with us. And the truth is far more powerful than that. She exists with or without our approval. She never changes. She would be like, since we've just done some traveling, basically she'd be like a super-powered permanent press shirt that you could rumple up any way you wanted, shove it into your suitcase, and I'm fluffing fluff.
Yeah, fluffing
fluff. And when you're taking it with you on vacation, there's no amount of rumpling it up and squeezing it into your suitcase that is going to change its appearance and give it wrinkles. You could even throw it on the ground, stomp on it in the mud. The truth is always the truth. And we'll pretend that super-powered wrinkle-free shirt has a whole bunch of stain repellent on it and such, and it's just not going to make any difference. The truth remains the truth, whether we want it to or not, basically.
Yeah.
So anyways, if there's no such family like that, I think there should be.
Yeah. So that would be nice to have.
Yeah, there's more power in one drop of blood of Jesus. There's more power in the salvation of Jesus than in a whole ocean tsunami. And, we had talked about Jesus has everything we need right there in his hands. And that's our salvation. is there in His hands, and it's not just the spiritual stuff; it's the physical stuff as well. But sometimes life may seem like a whole tsunami. Who knows what coming at us? Temptations and such like that. That would be hard for us to fight on our own, and yet we are that little lamb in the Good Shepherd's pastures, and He's the one who does everything to take care of us. And that one drop of the blood of Jesus' salvation is far more powerful than anything that can come against us.
That's true. Is Fluff in the green pastures?
She's in the green pastures now that we're home.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, so yeah, quick little pinch of salt. So thanks for joining us, and we will be back on the weekend and have a good rest.